I loved writing. I loved writing more than I did. I think every comic, there's two parts of stand-up comedy: the performing and the writing. And I think most comics, they're better at one or the other when they first start, especially. But I always thought I was a better writer than a performer, and I loved the smell of new jokes. I just absolutely loved it. It was like the biggest thrill for me was come up with new jokes. And one of the comics from my generation who I thought was one of the best joke writers was Jerry Seinfeld. And he was always coming up with stuff. You go, oh man, I wish I'd thought of that one. Wish I'd thought of that one. And I did this bit back in the 80s called Canyon Man. And part of the bit was there were a new car feature was power windows and power door locks. And part of the bit I'd go, tsh, 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 doors are open, try to get in, tsh, too late. Canyon Man is safe and secure. And I did that bit one night. I came off stage in the improv, and Jerry Seinfeld came to me and says, you figured out the door lock thing before I did. That's good. And I went, yeah, I like that. I beat him to one joke. For comics, if you ever hear somebody say he's a comics comic, it's because of their writing ability, it's the way the comic thinks, not their performance. Everybody loves Jim Carrey as a performer. We all loved him back then. He did great terrific impressions. He was a great physical performer. But the comics comic was always someone like Bill Hicks or Sam Kinison or somebody who did something that was different than everybody else was doing at the time. And it was always a thrill to me when certain people would get your jokes or like your jokes. I did a Tonight Show, Johnny Carson, and I was just coming back on my third one. I'd blown my second one really bad, and this was sort of my comeback, the third one. I eventually did 14 with him. And in the third one, Pat Robertson, a television evangelist, was running for president. And he said he was running for president because God told him to run for president. And my joke was, well, when God tells me to vote for him, I will. If I'm walking down the street and I hear a burning bush go, vote for Pat, you got it, man. So I did that joke on The Tonight Show. And I also did a joke that I rarely did this, but a guy had a joke that fit in because I was doing 3 or 4 jokes about religion. I did one about the Antichrist, which everybody was looking for the Antichrist back then. I said, it's not me. I checked my scalp. I got 2 6s and a 5. And this other comedian had a joke, which I loved, and the joke was, the devil has to be the dumbest individual ever. Because you think of the story, the devil was sitting in heaven next to God, thinking, God's all powerful, God's everywhere, yeah, I can take him. So I bought that joke for $50. So I did the Tonight Show, had a great set. Afterwards, we're waiting, and the talent coordinator, Jim McCulley, comes into the dressing room, and the comic who I bought the joke from was my guest, was there with me. A couple other people were there. And the talent coordinator comes in and says, Johnny, why don't you come up to his office? He wants to talk to you. He loved this one joke so much. So my heart catches. I go, please let it be my joke. That's all I could think of. I go, just don't let it be his devil joke. And he told me later he was thinking, I hope it's my devil joke. And he goes, he loved that Pat Robertson joke so much. I go, yeah. For 1 minute, I was Johnny's comics comic. And that's what for me, it mattered so much to me. Again, no ending.